Welcome back to episode 2 of Seige Mentality. I am Duke. I'm here with my buddy Seige. What's going on, man?
Can we change that lady's voice when the recorded so when we start the podcast, it's like, this is now being recorded. That is the most annoying voice in the world.
This is now being recorded. You know, I didn't know. That's a real person.
It has to be a real person. It's so painful. It couldn't possibly be a robot.
I thought it was literally a robot, but then I saw the girl who did it on TikTok. She's got her little soundproof booth set up, and she was like, "Watch this," and then did that voice.
Wow, I can't believe. Hopefully, there's one follower on the TikTok account because it's painful. It's just what is that?
I don't know. Are you big on TikTok?
No.
My wife's all over it. Unfortunately, I got her started, but now she watches it all day long. I think I'm ready for our house to be put up for sale. Someone just to hack into our home and put it up for sale or something. Is that pretty much how that works?
I don't know. You're the one who's married. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, welcome to the married life. Hey, episode 2 here. Excited to get going. A lot to talk about. As always, we'll whip around the world of sports, starting with our coworker, Brian Healy, who won $100,000 on Wednesday evening. Not even $100,000, $111,000. That's the weird thing with this dude. The extra $11K was just kind of thrown in there.
You kind of forget about it. It's oh, there's one digit, and then you kind of forget what the other digits are, and it's even if there was no one, 10,000 is always a nice night. So yeah, it was really nice. I actually did for the first time ever, I did the whole go to sleep before lock thing because I had to be up at 6 a.m. today, which for me is just the end of the world. It just literally is normally the end of the world. But one time it's screw it, I'm just gonna go to sleep early. And it actually was a much more enjoyable experience than I thought it would be. So
less stressful, I'm sure.
I actually woke up at 6 and the alarm went off, and I was like, oh, I'm not absolutely miserable right now. I guess that's what happens when you go to sleep at 10 instead of 1.
Well, you actually did the live stream with Healy, right, yesterday?
Yeah, I can't really say I contributed a whole lot to that lineup. I guess I kind of like San Fran too, but yeah, it was a lot of he was on Houston. I was a little more skeptical, but the Colorado bullpen was just a complete disaster yet again. So it worked out for him, and they weren't anywhere near as chalky as I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to be super chalky. They checked in way lower owned than I thought. And as soon as I saw the ownership, I kind of knew it was going to happen. I was like, oh, Coors isn't owned. Oops.
That's the thing that gets me. No matter the sport, it's when you don't overthink yourself, but you just maybe miss out on that ownership projection, and something you really wanted to play ends up being lower owned than you thought.
It wasn't even I really wanted to play it, but it was one of those ownership percentages oh, I would have played it at that.
Obviously, a lot of stuff going on in baseball this week. Last night, obviously, Mr. Tom Brenneman of the Cincinnati Reds utters a slur, you're not allowed to say, offensive term when he thinks he's off air. He wasn't. Everyone heard it. He starts going viral for all the wrong reasons, comes back on. And the part to me that I thought was hilarious, not that, nothing you can say about what he said is hilarious. He's apologizing on air during the game, and Castellanos hits a dinger. And, of course, the play-by-play man that he is stops in the middle of his, I'm a Christian man, to call the home run.
I don't know what the poor guy was. I mean, not the poor guy. He said it himself, but in that moment, I'm not exactly sure what else he's supposed to do other than just look even stupider and call the home run. Because you look stupid if you don't call the home run, and then you look stupider if you do. So kind of a lose-lose situation that he put himself into.
Don't you think he can just continue with the apology and then just go, and obviously you guys saw it, Castellanos hit the home run, but
sure, but you have to think about that in the middle of your apology. You're not exactly thinking straight at that point anyways.
And it's not just an apology. He's kind of trying to save his career, right?
I mean, I think there's nothing to save, but
you think he's done?
It's 2020. I can't imagine he survives that.
Speaking of 2020, baseball stuck in 1920. Unwritten rules of baseball. Where are you? Where do you stand on unwritten rules in baseball? You're a big baseball
This is just this topic has been beaten to the death. The unwritten rules are stupid. You know why they're unwritten? Because they're too stupid to be written down.
I'm trying to think of other sports. I was thinking about this earlier and talking to a buddy. What other sports even have unwritten rules? What even are they?
The NBA has if you're up 20 and there's 28 seconds on the shot clock, you don't take a shot with 3 seconds to go. You just dribble it out.
Yeah, I think back to I think he was a Celtic. Was that Ricky Davis who tried to get a rebound on his own backboard for a triple-double?
Yeah, I remember that.
He got fouled hard there. I know in NHL, obviously, it's a little bit unwritten. You know, you got to protect the skill guys. The big boys will fight you if you don't. Like, little stuff like that, I guess, makes sense. But
that's
man,
not really unwritten. That's just like common sense. Like if you deck someone kind of cheaply, you're going to get punched in the face. Like that's kind of more instinctual than kind of like an unwritten rule.
what else you got for baseball this week, Seige? Anything you want to talk about?
I mean, Mets testing COVID and positive in Miami. I'm not sure why they're playing in Miami right now, but like that's just a hotbed for COVID. I just think you got to move the Marlins out of there. But I mean, we basically now only had like 2 teams have issues. I guess the Reds had like 1 guy test positive, but it's been either Miami, Atlanta based, or it's been, you know, the Cardinal situation, which was really just dumb. So I just don't think you can play in Miami anymore.
Just shut it down. Rest of the year. Start over 2021.
No, just like move the Marlins somewhere else. Move them to
Miami.
Nashville.
Shut down the park.
Yeah, just shut down the park. Yeah, just move them to Nashville. It'll be fine.
How about golf? Did you see the Charlie Woods, Tiger Woods' son, won a tournament?
I haven't paid attention to golf this week at all. I've tuned golf out, like between football ramping up and baseball and basketball. Golf has just gone to the back burner.
There's only so much bandwidth in the day, but obviously Tiger Woods' son, going to be a lot of fanfare around him. I think he's like 10, 12, something like that. Won a tournament by a couple strokes. I was thinking about this. Do you think this kid could beat you today?
Probably.
You got to be so much longer than he is, right? But
I don't hit it very far off the tee. I'm more of a down the middle type player.
well, that's half the hard part of golf. I know over at Barstool, the Riggs, who does the golf content over there, played a 12-year-old who's, I think, on this kind of level and lost to him like 4-3.
Yeah, I can't imagine I'd win. Like I'm an 18, 19. Although I guess I was probably closer with 16 by the time, you know, I guess it's still summer, but ever since sports have come back, I haven't been able to play as much. But I think I was probably down to like a 16, 15, but that kid would probably still kill me.
Yeah, we're in the process of moving right now. It's a pain in the ass in every single direction. So I haven't played in weeks, but excited to get.
Oh, I hate move. I literally lived in the same place forever because I just hate the idea of moving.
Is moving the nut low?
I've done it once, and I'm just like I have no interest. I do kind of want to move, but then I just look around and it's just like, yeah, no. Sounds like it's like so much work, and for what?
You never know how much shit you have until you start trying to move.
Oh, I'm very much aware of how much shit's in here. It looks pretty on the camera, but I'm just like in my office. I'm just staring at like boxes.
It's an episode of Hoarders in there. It's just stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, basically. Spare closet, like basically you can't see to the roof. Well, and I've actually like taken some stuff out. It's like actually better than it was.
We did. So what we've done is we did a Goodwill trip. So we went through our closets. It took out everything that we're not going to wear anymore, basically, things we haven't worn in a while, and then packed that up. We had 5 bins that went to Goodwill. We just did another one yesterday because we're like, I came from the business world. I have 500 shirts I'm never going to wear again that hopefully someone else will enjoy. Like, take these. I sit at home in my underwear all day. Why do I need a colored shirt for?
Actually, that's a good point. I got to freaking get the suit dry cleaned. Thanks for the reminder.
You're welcome. Let's move on to the NBA, where unfortunately, I got to eat some crow here a little bit. So far,
you're just drawing dead. Just take the L now. You should just be begging me for a buyout. Please let me buy out. It's over. They're not going to have a COVID test in the bubble. You're done. You're drawing dead.
Something like 500 tests, 0 positive.
It's going to be like that the rest of the time.
I'm not rooting for a test. I don't want anyone to get COVID, but I'm so competitive that I'm kind of rooting for a positive test.
AKA, you just basically made the first half of the statement was completely not true.
I mean, I really don't want anybody to get COVID. I really don't.
But you do. You just said it twice.
I don't want to be wrong. I don't like being wrong.
Exactly. That means you're rooting for someone to get COVID.
Well, I think another place I might be wrong, and I know I went at you for this. I know a bunch of people have went at you for this. The Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis thing.
Welcome aboard, baby.
I'm turning the team Seige on this one.
Oh, I mean, look, the problem is that like so many people fought me for so long on this. that like they're just never going to admit that they're wrong. Like the kid's still 23 or 22, and Anthony Davis is like 29. Like imagine what's going to happen like when he actually gets somewhere near his prime.
I guess for me, I thought his ceiling was lower than it was. That was my argument. I thought Anthony Davis's ceiling was higher at a position with less talent, and that would be why he was so impactful. But Jason, he's a freaking point guard at times now.
Have you seen those 3-pointers he just can hit now every time are just like, all right, you're not covering that. Like those step back threes, it's just like, oh, come on. Like even when he shoots them, I'm just like, really? And then they go in and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, like, oh, yep. You probably don't remember old Ohio State basketball days. They had a player named Chris Gent, white dude, 3-point shooter. Baker would dribble it up, pass to Gent, he'd dribble around, he'd shoot. My dad every single time would go, don't shoot. Oh, good shot. Good shot. That's how it is with your boy at this point.
Well, they're normally not that bad, but you're just like, really, that's the best shot we can get. And then like halfway you realize like, oh, that's another swish.
By the way, Anthony Davis is an old man. He's 27 years old.
Yeah, well, and he can't even beat Portland. So,
Are the Lakers done or finished?
No, they just missed like a gazillion open looks. There was a nice video montage on Twitter of just like every open three. It was like, look at this elite Portland defense. And what it really was just the Lakers being wide open on every shot and not making a thing.
The internet is undefeated, man.
Oh, it was really funny because I hadn't been paying close attention to the game. I was practicing at darts practice, and I kind of just kept looking at the score. And I was like, "What the hell's going on?" But yeah, it was just like open threes like all day, and no one made one. I was like, "All right, well, that will regress."
What'd you think of the Porzingis ejection?
Is there anyone on the planet who thought it was a good idea except the referee that did it?
I mean, how do we
Props to Cuban for not getting fined. By the way,
yeah.
I thought he was minus 700 to get a fine.
I would have gone broke betting on that.
Oh, yeah. It's just like I thought for sure the guy was going to list. I thought he was going to like write the check and then say something like have the check and be like, here you go, Adam Silver, and then just start ripping away.
Isn't his next fine, though, like $5 million? Maybe that's why.
Yeah, $5 million. There's no chance he's going to fine him $5 million.
I mean,
like, maybe $1 million, but I mean, whatever. He'll make that back in like a day.
Who would you take right now, Jason Tatum or Luka Doncic?
You have to take Luka. I mean, the kid's 20. Like he's a freak. Like I know he's got defensive liabilities, but you just take Luka and figure it out from there.
Bad haircut though.
If you play basketball like that, you can have your hair cut whatever way you darn well please.
Look, can I start a petition to get freaking Boban more minutes?
I didn't watch that game last night again. I went to sleep early, so like I don't apparently like Boban's the reason they won the game.
Well, I mean.
He got the TNT interview. He couldn't have been terrible.
First of all, he's awesome, right? I think, the big argument is he doesn't play defense, can't guard the pick and roll. You can't play him more minutes. If it's not a fitness issue, get his ass out there. He's 7'3" with an 8-foot wingspan. You can figure out a defense to make him work.
I mean, I think he's awesome, but I think he is what he is. And he knows what he is. And that's fine.
Yeah, I guess, could he ever be a 20-minute guy?
I mean, sure, but you'd have to be up against some also immobile center with no range, like Rudy Gobert.
Seth Curry was plus 30 last night.
Well, that explains why I didn't win any NBA money. Okay.
Yeah, how's that make any sense?
I was choosing between Seth Curry and someone else, and I apparently chose poorly. I didn't even look at the box score yet, to be honest. I went to sleep super early, and I was just like, one of those days. Let me just pull out the box score. I'm probably going to laugh very hilariously at Seth Curry's line. Is it? Am I going to really laugh?
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh God, it's probably gonna be like 9 of 10 from 3. I'm sure.
What the hell's going on with Donovan Mitchell, by the way?
Let's see.
He had 30 points last night, but he's been struggling lately.
Oh, it's not that bad. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
So what's going on with Donovan Mitchell? 30 points last night, but struggling.
It's fine. I mean, the Jazz aren't going to shoot 46% from the 3 that entire series. Like, whatever.
You got the Nuggets.
I mean, that's just like that's why sweeps are just so hard these days. It's because just like teams, just if they shoot a ton of threes, like they'll just luck into one game where they go shoot like 23 for 50 and win the game.
The one thing I've never been able to figure out is how wildly different these teams look from game to game within a series. And I know it's small adjustments here or there, but how is it that big?
Yeah, I mean, like for Denver, in that Denver game, for example, they put Royce O'Neal on Jamal Murray to stop the Jamal Murray-Jokic pick and roll, and they had no response. Jamal Murray couldn't make a jump shot and just was kind of just – then they couldn't play any defense. And they also just – the Jazz just couldn't miss a three. Like, they're just – that's free throws. I was like, what? But, like, Donovan Mitchell went 6 for 7. Joe Ingles 4 for 9. Royce O'Neal went 3 for 4. I mean, come on. Even Emmanuel Mudiay made a 3. Like, that's when you just know it's not going well.
Yeah, that's when you just close the computer, move on to the next day.
Yep, pretty much.
How about your boy Lewis Hamilton taking down another win? Is he just minus 500 to win every week? I don't agree. Admittedly,
I mean,
this isn't an F1
a track
podcast.
like Spain, yeah. Like last week was destined to be pretty boring. Like Mercedes is really good, but they're instituting some new rules to try to like. Basically, the Mercedes engine is just so much better than everyone else's engine that like they have like these special modes for qualifying where they just like blow by everybody else, and then they don't use them in the race. And so now they're coming down with a new rule that basically like if you can't use a mode in qualifying that you don't use in the race. And so now they're like basically just trying to make Mercedes slower. We'll see how it works. I don't think it's going to work out very well, but Mercedes seems pissed and Red Bull seems excited. So we'll see.
Yeah, typically you know what that means. It's like when they tried to make the courses longer for Tiger Woods.
Yeah, that's kind of my opinion. It's just like that engine's just so much better. I think they're just going to figure out a new way to be awesome, but we'll see. They're going to a track where you probably need every little bit of power you can get, so they'll probably just use the party mode the whole time, but we'll see.
Are you just big into F1 or do you like NASCAR as well?
I love F1. NASCAR for me is just like I respect it. It was really cool when I got to go to a race, but I don't know. It's a great DFS sport if you're MMEing, but honestly, Sundays are just such a big day for me in season-long baseball. It's just really hard for me to just like give NASCAR the time it deserves. Whereas F1, I'm just betting. Like, there's no daily fantasy, so I just make bets available on Elite Sports Betting. We're up like 8 units on the season, 9 units on the season, through like 4 races that I bet on. So, yeah, no, it's I'm just a huge F1 fan. Again, just watch the doc on Netflix. Like, it's got everything. It really does.
It's on the watch list. I haven't got to it yet.
And like the best part is like during the races they show they have the radio calls and they're just basically like cursing on their drivers like, fuck that guy, what the hell's he doing? Like, send him back to freaking F3. Like, they're just like they do like sometimes they get really mad. Like, they're not afraid to put it on air, and you're just like, yeah, here we go,
cussing each other.
Oh, like especially like if they get blocked in qualifying, we like somewhat there's like 1 or 2 drivers that basically pay for their rides. Basically, they're called pay drivers, and the one driver's just like, I don't care how much money that guy pays, get him off the freaking track.
Costing me money. Well, hey, I know you're up a bunch of units. I see the bets coming through over at Elite Wins all the time. I might not ever lose another soccer bet again. I think I'm like 9-1 this week.
Yeah, you've been on fire
for Champions League. Did you get to watch Champions League?
I didn't watch any Champions.
What? Siege, come on, man.
I'm doing my CLEs for any lawyers out there knows what the misery of CLEs are. And so, I mean, they're virtual, so they're not as bad. Like, I can sit in my office chair. It's better than normal, but it's still like up at 6 a.m. Like, you know, and it's just boring. Like, I love being a lawyer. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate my license and all that, but yeah, CLEs are actually, that's not true. There was a good one today, but like most of them are just boring as hell, and you're just like,
what does CLE stand for? I don't even know what that
continuing legal education.
There you go. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, let me fill you in.
I get why they're necessary. I get why they're thing, and like it's cool. Like, I get it. I definitely probably retain more than I give credit for, but.
Well, let me fill you in on what you missed. Bayern Munich are good. PSG are good. They're meeting in the final on Sunday. Will you watch that? Let's start there. I know Sundays are busy for you, but 3 p.m. Sunday.
I'll definitely watch. Well, what time's the match? Noon?
3 Eastern, 2 your time?
Yeah, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah. You got an opinion on who's going to win?
I honestly haven't watched the semis. I probably will watch them. They're on demand on CBS All Access, so I'll probably watch them. The next day I'm bored over the weekend. I'll have a better opinion at that point. But that doesn't do the podcast any good, does it?
Bayern are an absolute wagon. You can get them right now, plus 105. Go ahead and do that. If you want to grab Lewandowski to score, that's not a bad bet either. Serge Gnabry's on fire, but don't fall into that trap as far as the bet goes. Let's move on to NCAA football. Is there – look, we talked about this the last two podcasts.
All right, time to eat some crow for me. My turn.
Let's start here. We'll start with my issue, and then
we'll
move on to your issue.
Let's just get it out of the way.
Okay, fine. Notre Dame suspends class for 2 weeks. 5 players test positive for COVID today. Thursday. You told me for several weeks now Notre Dame's playing football. Where do you stand today?
I think they're going to play football. I think the administration got caught off guard that people would be that stupid to have 100 people house parties. I think they did not expect that at all. I think they got caught really off guard that people could possibly be that stupid. Because the intake testing was good. It was like 99.7% of people tested negative. Like, it was good. I think it's going to be 2 weeks of online, and then I think they're just going to really clamp down. Like, you have an off-campus party, you're gone. And I think that will solve the problem. I really do.
Well, I know on Pat McAfee's show today, Ballard, a GM for the Colts, talked about the responsibility inside the locker room and players holding each other accountable. Those are grown men who are getting paid and have money on the line here. Can you have that sort of situation in college as well? You would think that these guys would look at the guy next to him and say, don't cost us a season, but these are kids, man.
Well, I mean, they were living in the dorms. Like, I'm not sure it was the football players' stupidity. Unless they got moved, I'm pretty sure they're still living in the dorms. So, like, I don't blame the football players. Like, they probably just interacted with an idiot undergrad who, went to that party. Or interacted with someone that was at that party, right? So, I'm not going to blame the football players for that. But considering they went all summer and didn't have any tests, there's only one new denominator, and it's called undergrads. So I'm not going to blame the football team for that. But, yeah, pretty stupid. But I think it's fixable, obviously. But you're just going to have to, make it clear, you go to an off-campus party, you're gone. That's it. It has to be zero tolerance.
That's the only way to get it done. And I think you hit the nail on the head, man. We've gone through weeks of practice.
I just can't believe that they're – I just can't – I did a lot of dumb things in college. Don't get me wrong. I can't imagine being that dumb. I can't imagine being that dumb. That is just the epitome of dumb.
Yeah, but then, she says she just wants to hang out, and then you don't know, what she's been doing. She said she's been quarantined, but she hasn't been quarantined.
But that's not going to cause a 100-person party. That's what we're talking about.
That's bad.
That's horrible.
That's 99 too many.
100 people off-campus parties, were a rarity even in non-COVID eras. Those weren't, a common thing. It happened, once every 2 months, maybe. And even then, they were allowed to get busted. I can't imagine who thought that was a good idea.
So they're still practicing. They've isolated the 5 players. They're still going to try to practice. I mean, where do you?
I'm really curious to see if they move the football players into the hotel that they're probably not using. There's an on-campus hotel. I know that they like to have the football players live in the dorms and interact with the undergrads, and it's really one of the cool parts of Notre Dame. But I think you got to really consider just locking them up in the hotel room.
Do you think there's a case for? Let me put it this way: do you think any school will take the extreme measure, because we saw North Carolina have issues, other schools have issues, of saying athletes are isolated, in this case just football players are isolated, undergrads optional? Because you can't just say, undergrads, you're out of here. We're going to keep just the football team here so we can make the money off of their work. You can't say that. You think there's a chance where they say there's optional on-campus housing and isolate the football players?
I mean, I think they're going to – I think that's probably Notre Dame's next move. I bet you they're going to isolate them in the hotel. I haven't talked – I mean, that's just my speculation. That'd be my guess. Either they've got to really just lock it down, or they've got to just isolate the football team. Honestly, there's too much money. There's too much money involved to really screw this up.
Which is why I can't believe the Big Ten took the measures that they did. We can move on.
I don't think the Big Ten – I remember how I talked about last week how I kept saying Ohio State and Michigan were going to have a season this year no matter what?
I do. Do you think it's going to happen? So here's what happened. Let me set it up for everybody. Siege is right. Last week we talked about the Big Ten. They released a schedule 6 days later, 5 days, 6 days later. They then cancel all fall sports, which obviously includes the big one, football here. Justin Fields, quarterback for Ohio State, potential Heisman winner, top 5 pick in the NFL draft after this season, goes out, starts a petition supported by a number of other players, gets over 250,000 signatures within 24 hours, I want to say. We have parents from Big Ten schools going to Chicago to confront, the new commissioner who doesn't even live there yet. He's still in Minnesota. It's an absolute mess. The Big Ten commissioner has now come out and said that, here are the reasons why we aren't going to play this year. And the presidents voted on it. So we're getting misleading statements here. Some people are saying the presidents didn't have a vote. Some are saying they did have a vote. Siege, you've been on this thing that Michigan, Ohio State, those schools are going to find a way to play. Where do you think we are today?
I think that Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, why can't I think of the other ones?
Iowa.
Or 6.
Penn State.
Penn State, and Wisconsin?
Yep.
We're going to have a schedule. They were going to play home and home. And it got out before they were ready to announce. And then I think the other Big Ten schools went, wait a minute, if you're going to do this, we don't want to get left out. And now I think they're kind of all regrouping, thinking maybe we screwed this up.
This might be a hot take. I prefer what they're talking about versus what we usually do.
Me too. Home and home, like Michigan, Ohio State, home and home.
Wisconsin.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, and by the way, do you think I give a shit about Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue, Indiana? These are wasted weeks. These are bye weeks for the elite of the Big Ten. You could say, hey, maybe one day they'll have a good team. Drew Brees had a good year, 15 years, 20 years ago. Northwestern won a Big Ten title in the last.
Well, apparently the Michigan governor's the problem, but that's only one. I've only heard that once.
Yeah, that's a totally different podcast where you and I could probably spend 3 hours talking about that. But
apparently, there's gonna be no football in Michigan, no matter what, and so then they're like Michigan. Then they're like, well, maybe Michigan can go play somewhere else, and then that got out, and then it's a whole shebang.
Well, we addressed it last week. Iowa State today is going to play. Iowa's not. In Ohio, the Bengals are going to play. The Browns are going to play. The Cincinnati Bearcats are going to play. Ohio State is not. How does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense.
Could there be? Don't you think there's going to be? You're a lawyer. Shouldn't there be lawsuits out the ass coming from this?
I mean, it's just. What for what though? What's the real damages?
As
long as you can keep your year of eligibility, it's the only damage that you got.
Do you think there's an advantage if Trevor Lawrence plays this season and Justin Fields doesn't, and they head to April for the draft?
Yeah, but you can't prove anything. You can't prove that he would have had a good season and therefore jumped Trevor Lawrence. I'm not. It's not my It's a hypothetical, right? It's not actually ever going to be a real case, so. Take it for a grain of salt. It's not legal advice. It's just an opinion too. So I don't see why anyone would bother. Then again, I say that about most cases. I'm like, why are you bothering?
That's name any lawsuit like that. Name the majority of lawsuits.
That's true too.
So okay, I didn't know we'd be on the same side there, but I'm actually the idea of home and away. And for those who don't,
yeah, that just. It'll kind of suck. There's no crowds for imagine if they could play home and home with crowds. Whew.
The rivalries are intense, and I think it would help recruiting. I think it would help everything. And by the way, so Michigan, Ohio State.
I think that's why the other schools in the Big Ten are oh shit. Imagine if this was a ratings bonanza, those 6 would be you know what, we're better off without the other ones.
Why? I've been banging this drum for 10 years. Why does anyone need the NCAA? Why do any of these schools and conferences need the NCAA? You're telling me the elite of the elite can't find their own TV contracts, can't formulate their own March Madness, can't find advertisers, can't find someone to broadcast this? They don't need the NCAA.
No, they don't.
Ohio State doesn't need the Big Ten.
No, that's why everyone keeps complaining about Notre Dame joining a conference, and I'm laughing at it. I'm like, nah, we're good, thanks. We don't need a conference. We're fine.
So there is a benefit to having a conference, right?
Sure, but I miss it. There's some benefit to it, but if for example Notre Dame can do everything else in the ACC, so it's just great, it's perfect.
Yeah, you need a willing participant there, and I guess if
more
the
teams
did
the ACC was okay, we get. You mean we get to have Notre Dame on our schedules every year? Great, sounds like a plan.
There's a free win. Anything else NCAA football wise? I'm kind of still skeptical.
Yeah, I do know, like NFL, like, do you see the Chiefs are going to have like 20,000 fans in that stadium?
Ugh. Why? Why?
Because
Why
they
are we
can.
doing this? Do not ruin football for me, damn it.
Because they can.
Well,
Sorry,
even
Parsons up for re-election. You think he's really gonna like politics? I guess that's kind of political, but like he's not gonna be the one to freaking ban Kansas City Chiefs fans from going to that stadium. No way.
he might encourage it, actually.
What?
He said he might encourage it, actually. Well, like even here in Atlanta, MLS is coming back. Atlanta is a unique
And by the
situation.
way, I should say like there's like there've been like small, like for example, like I'm a season ticket holder at a really small USL club called St. Louis FC. Actually, it might be in its final season, but like we've had fans at games, but I'm talking like it's a seats like 5,000. There were like 200 people there. That's like completely spread out.
Spread out. Yep, I saw that with the Madison USL team as well. This is
fun. I have to admit, going and
smaller.
sitting in the stands at a sporting event has been fun. I'm not gonna lie. Even Matt's on the entire time too. Like,
So you've gone?
Kind of fun.
You've gone to some games?
Yeah.
What was it like? What was it like getting into the park? Who's finding seats? Do you have assigned seats?
It's a season ticket holder, so assigned seats. It's all spread out. Like super spread out too. So like we've had my friends and I have had these seats for 3 or 4 years now, and some of them had it longer than that. So it's just kind of like my bubble. Anyways, we're just moving the bubble to a stadium, and there's like no one within like 25 feet of us in any direction. So.
Are you sitting in your usual seats, or they just have it sectioned?
We slid over one section closer to midfield. They were like, "Sorry, we have to upgrade your seats," and I was like, "Dang, I feel sorry." Like, tough break, huh?
Darn.
Yeah,
how about
seats are way much better. Yeah,
food
terrible.
and beer situation? Was that open or was it all closed?
Open, 6 feet. Like between people, and people are actually like doing it too. Like they actually were like, "We like being at a sporting event, so we're gonna follow all the rules."
It may take someone like Nick Saban coming out and saying like, "Hey, look, even if you don't want to do it, let's save football, put a mask on to get us through the season."
Where was that 5 weeks ago? It should have been done like 6 weeks ago. It should have been an advertising campaign. Like each SEC school should have been on like statewide being like, wear a mask if you want college football.
Hey man, don't blame the SEC for all these Big Ten schools canceling. But
that's true. At least the SEC is like, we're going to play.
How about some NFL talk? Where do you want to start with NFL? I'm getting more back into the best balls here. This
is
probably
fired up like 100 best balls in the last 2 days.
I was going to say, this is probably our last episode that's not real heavy NFL as we get closer. We're 4 weeks away from NFL?
Yeah, we probably should start like doing football heavy stuff, huh?
Yeah, I think probably next week will be a lot more NFL here. But obviously, just looking at the freaking content coming out of Fantasy Guru, you can tell we're ramping up and getting really close to the season. A boatload of news coming out just this week. I think probably the big one. Should we start with Miles Sanders?
Yeah, I've been about as high as Miles Sanders as you can get. I gotta be honest, it really hasn't changed a whole lot for me. Like week to week now, like we're still 3.5 weeks away from opening day. Like I'm not panicking, and I'm getting some discounts on them, and I'm taking the discounts, to be honest.
Yeah, this almost feels like the drop off has been too severe. Like you're getting value at this point.
I would agree with that assessment, but that's why I've been playing best balls the last couple of days. I've been grabbing, like I could have grabbed late first round shares. Like that was definitely like possible, but I kind of already have a bunch of those. So I was just I set my rankings to the point where if he fell in the second round, I'd get him. And I picked up some shares in the second round. So that was kind of nice.
How often are you tweaking your rankings?
Probably when I'm doing them, like probably like in the middle, if I'm like, gee whiz, like I don't love this guy and I keep getting him, I'll just move him down.
Fair enough.
So like Michael Pittman Jr., for example, like I'm okay with him, but I was starting to get like a really high percentage. It's like, I don't need 40% Michael Pittman Jr. Like let's move him down 15 spots.
I was doing that yesterday with some of my builds for Champions League. I'm like, do I really want this much Thiago? But anyway, much different game here. How about I think one of the bigger stories is Tyron Smith. He got hurt today at practice for the Cowboys. Obviously, what is he like 24 still? I feel like he's been in the league for 10 years.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
But one of the two mammoth tackles there for the Cowboys. Obviously, really deep in the backfield here, but losing a tackle like that, not great. Don't know how long he's going to be out, but not good.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very good, does it?
Tyreek Hill leaves practice with a leg injury today.
Yeah, I saw that. That's not great. I already was taking Kelsey over him anyway, so I don't have a ton. But yeah, it's not good. I have a bunch of Hardman, but again, like you kind of want that offense at full health, so I don't really want to mess with it. So hopefully he's all right.
I was actually looking at you were going back and forth with a couple people today about Mr. Kelsey.
They're like in a seasonal league, like a redraft league, like a tournament online. Like I would never take Kelsey in the second round, like ever, or Kittle. Like you just gotta get still skill talent. But in best ball, it's completely different. Like the gap between the top 5 tight ends and everyone else is massive. And so getting 1 or 2 of them on your roster is it's a cheat code. It really is. I think there's a lot of data out there on the win rates of having one of those 2 tight ends last year. I think it was like 2 times expectation. I went to pull it up, but then I kind of forgot what I was doing, so I don't have it in front of me. But like it's massive if you get one of those guys. And we'll see. I expect Kelsey to move into round 1 before too long here in those best ball formats, just because people are going to look at the back of the first round and just be like, let me get an edge at the tight end position. Like Kelsey's going to be an edge. And if I get into a shootout, type format in the playoffs, like I want to have like the best player on the field. So
what's your spread looking like at quarterback in best balls right now? That's where I struggle, to be honest.
It's a ton of Jared Goff, and then just everyone else is kind of sprinkled in.
Are you higher than everyone else on Jared Goff? You've mentioned him every week.
Just
Where's
because
that coming from?
Like last year, he was one of the most unlucky seasons of all time from a quarterback. Like if you look at yards per touchdown, like he is just such an outlier. His last season, like how few touchdowns he got for his passing yardage. So I just expect that to regress.
And you think as a team they'll bounce back this year?
Yeah, but I'm not really worried about like I don't think the team was that bad last year. I just think they kind of got unlucky in a few spots. Like, I don't think they were that bad. I just think like they got unlucky with a couple defensive injuries and they just didn't really have a good replacement.
Higbee, Kupp, Woods, pretty good weapons there for Jared Goff. Other injuries or anything that popped up today or this week? I know Nick Chubb had a little bit of a concussion issue. Never like to see that. Anything with the head is a little bit of a worry. DeAndre Hopkins is back to practice this week. What do you think of Hop this year? Obviously, he had such a big target share. Everyone and their brother is going after freaking what's his name over at the Texans, Will Fuller. I guess, are they projecting him to take that target share that DeAndre Hopkins has? Because they're 2 completely different players.
I think Will Fuller can be that player. Like,
what's Will Fuller's route tree?
He's got the full route tree.
Do you think so?
Yeah. He's just to stay healthy.
He wasn't asked to do it or what? I mean,
he was doing it in Houston. It's just like you just forget because he was always hurt.
It'll be interesting to see how he is without Hopkins there. But what do you think about Hopkins over at Arizona?
I think he's fine. I just don't think they're going to be like, all right, now we're going to throw it to Hopkins like they were in Texas. Like he's going late 2, early 3. Sounds about right to me.
What do you think about him with, the other weapons there at Arizona? Obviously a little bit different personnel grouping than he had at Houston. I mean, he had such a target share at Houston. We can see something similar at Arizona.
I don't think so. I think it's going to just be like, he's going to be the guy who's in the, even Kyler came out and talked about it. Like last year when they ran bunch sets, like it didn't work because there was no double team on the guy across the field. And this year he's like, now you have to double cover DeAndre Hopkins. So yeah, I think it's going to definitely be interesting to see. That's for sure.
I'm always looking at, no matter the sport, when someone like that, like I'm writing a big article over in Elite Fantasy right now for the Champions League final. Neymar is a guy who draws so much attention. So I'm looking at who's around him that can eat up that space that's maybe left. Larry Fitz, Christian Kirk. I mean, who's the one that benefits the most from Hopkins taking up all that attention?
Probably Kirk, I would imagine.
That's what I'm thinking too. But I'm wondering if I'm not grabbing enough Fitzgerald. He seems like he's just so solid.
I started grabbing a little bit more, but like I don't want to get crazy on it because it's Larry Fitz. Like I don't think he's going to win you anything. I think he's just solid.
Probably more season long than best ball.
I think he's more best ball than season long personally.
Really? Because you think I'll pop off a few weeks or what?
No, just because like if you're looking at like if you need him, like if he's in your starting lineup, it means something's gone wrong with the guys around him,
True.
Like injuries and whatnot. So I kind of want to get someone that I know will just get me like 10 points, and that's kind of him.
That's definitely Larry Fitz. What else you got for NFL from just news and notes? What do you think about Dalvin Cook? Obviously, contract. He's professional, showing up every day, but contract talks are ongoing. Do you think that has any impact on him? He's such a stud, man.
I just worry about the shoulder. I'm just not convinced the shoulder's right.
pretty big deal for a physical running back.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a bit. So are you a buyer? Are you a seller? What are we doing?
I call just like hold. I don't have a strong opinion one way or another.
What week are you doing? Are you doing much season long this year?
Yeah, tons.
I know we were in our elite fantasy staff game there. When are most of your leagues drafting?
I'm basically done. I did a lot of like these national contests like over our friends at FFPC.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did a lot of those during quarantine and lockdown. So I'm pretty much done. Like I might add like a main event team or two, but honestly, baseball main events are just taking up so much of my brain space. The idea of just like having to really just lock it in over the next 10 days and then draft a main event and then manage it in September while I'm doing baseball, just, I don't know, doesn't sound great to me.
Are you guys adding
extra? And for the love of God, Toronto, will you just give Jordan Romano a save chance? This guy keeps blowing him every time you put him out there. This is the second or third time they've tried to use A.J. Cole in a save situation in a doubleheader, and it hasn't worked yet. At all! Well, at least it's JT Realmuto getting the RBIs, but good grief, Toronto. Let your best reliever actually try to get a save for once. I know he pitched the day game and got a win, but like it was 13 pitches, enough.
There's your weekly update on Seige's DFS baseball.
It's not even DFS. It's just seasonal this time. Like, just for the love of God, let Jordan Romano get some save opportunities. I do appreciate, though, that the Philly bullpen blew a lead in the bottom of the sixth to the point where they actually had to bring on Hector Neris, but still.
We haven't talked much. I mean, we talked baseball at the start. I mean, what's let's say your bandwidth, your brain percentage? Where are we at with baseball and football right now?
80% baseball.
Yeah, you're producing a ton of content live streams.
Max.
When's that switch over to 80% football?
I'm not sure it's going to until baseball's over, to be honest.
So mine is
that's also why I don't really want to draft anymore. It's just like I feel like everyone else is paying more attention to football than me. Like I'm paying attention to it on Twitter and like I'm reading stuff, but I'm not like normally this like in August, my brain attention would be 100% football. Well, not 100, but like it'd be like 80-20 in football. But this year, it's just like there's so much going on. I don't know what else to like. I just don't have any brain power left.
And we're so quick to forget. Just a few weeks ago, we had 0 sports.
I know, and it's the exact opposite. Like it's one of those things you knew was going to happen, and then it's still here, and you're like, God, it's just.
I don't hate it.
I'm not complaining. I enjoy it. Yeah. Like I like the fact I can turn on a basketball game at noon, but just my brain is just like mental overload. Help me. I'm trying to be like, sorry, brain. Like you've got another 6 weeks of this, so figure it out.
See, mine's Monday. Come Monday, Sunday, Champions League final. So, starting in mid-September, EPL's back, but from Monday until mid-September, it's 100% NFL. I can't.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I wish I had that ability to do it.
Yeah. Yep. How about I saw Des Bryant's working out with the Ravens.
Yawn. Next.
I mean, does he? What the hell is he doing? Why is he even trying?
Because he wants people to actually talk about him, and I'm not gonna fall for his trap.
You think he could make an NFL roster anywhere right now?
I'm not talking about Des Bryant. He's history. Like I'm not gonna give Des Bryant what he's looking for.
What will you do if he's on a roster this year?
Not care.
He wouldn't even play, even if he makes it. Too big of a headache, really.
He probably would play, but I still wouldn't care.
What's going on with Drew Brees and Jameis? Is Drew good to go?
I mean, he showed up to camp, didn't he?
Someone on this podcast was floating rumors that may not happen.
Yeah, then they created a bubble that he showed up.
That's the end of the story?
I mean, that's as far as I know. I'm not sure those are even related. I just know that they created a bubble last minute, and then he showed up.
Do you think Jameis could be successful in that system? Let's say Sean Payton stays, Michael Thomas, the whole crew, Kamara.
Oh, you kidding me? Yeah, of course he could be.
Does he cut down the interceptions?
He can see now.
I want him to play so bad because I think he can actually see.
I was really upset that he didn't get like a real starting job. I think he's really good.
He could start at Chicago. He's better than anybody on their roster.
Yeah, but they want to give Trubisky a chance to win the job again. That's why they didn't sign Cam Newton.
Oh, speaking of which,
I have no idea what that situation is going to happen.
Yeah, what's going on there, man?
Apparently, Cam Newton doesn't know the playbook. Jarrett Stidham has had a couple really brutal days at practice. I have no idea what that situation is. Like, it could be Brian Hoyer. Like, I don't think that was the plan. Like, Jarrett Stidham needs to wake up. Like, he's had a couple really bad days at practice. Really bad.
Which we do have some time here, but is there a situation? I mean, are we heading for a situation where maybe Hoyer's the guy for the first couple weeks till Cam gets caught up and then takes over?
There's no point in starting Brian Hoyer. Like, I think Bill Belichick's giving Hoyer snaps to try to snap someone else into like waking up.
It's got to be Cam week 1, right? I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
I thought it was going to be Stidham like most of the way, especially when I started reading he couldn't read the playbook. And then after these last 2 days of practice that were so bad, now I just have no idea.
I'm probably selling myself out here, but
I just don't know. Like, if Cam doesn't know the playbook, like, they just will not put him in, period.
If Cam doesn't know the playbook, that says more about Cam than anything else that anyone said negative-wise. I mean, he's an NFL
But the Pats
quarterback.
playbook's impossible. Like, everyone struggles to learn the Pats playbook. It's been a thing forever.
Matt Castle succeeded, for God's sake. The guy's
But Matt
awful.
Castle was in the system for years. He knew what the playbook was.
Then dumb it down. That's Josh McDaniels' issue.
No, they're not going to dumb it down for Cam Newton because he's a minimum signing. They're not going to dumb it down for him.
So he's a minimum signing with more talent than anyone else on the roster.
They're not going to dumb it down. Like, they'll start Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer if he doesn't know the playbook. Like, that's just the way the Pats are going to be. They're not going to dumb it down.
Do you think that's a good or bad thing?
I think it's a smart idea. You can't change the playbook that everyone else knows to go around Cam Newton. Jarrett Stidham just needs to wake the hell up. Like, apparently he's having great throws. He's just having like a couple of just brain dead throws.
Yeah, I don't think a couple bad days is going to ruin the job. If he's ultimately, it's going to be who Bill Belichick wants. Right?
I don't think they were worried yesterday. Doing the same thing today, like, was not great. But, you know, if he rebounds well, I'm sure Belichick will love that. Like, 2 brutal days, like, just completely beat down, then steps up. Like, he would love that. So,
gun to your head today. Who's starting? Who's starting week 1? Stidham? Hold on. Who do you think Belichick wants to be the starter?
I think he wants Stidham to be the starter, but I'm not sure that's going to happen at this point. As soon as, because like the first day at camp, the first article out of the gate was Cam Newton doesn't know the playbook, which screamed to me that was like the opening that for Jarrett Stidham to just win the job, and then just did the complete opposite, just played horrific. And so now I'm just like, I have no idea what they're going to do.
Could he realistically figure it out in 3 weeks? Like, that seems like a stretch.
Stidham?
No, Cam Newton.
Yeah, I always thought it was a stretch. I thought it was always the problem. Like, he signed after all, like, the offseason OTAs. I always thought that was the problem. But I also don't think they expected Jarrett Stidham to be this bad after last year. Like, he was really good in practice. Like, every day there was, like, a practice report about how good he was. And so I don't know if it's pressure. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just, like, a lack of reps and getting back into it. But he's got to figure it out, like, now.
Then I need to sell some shares of our boy Cam. Little vested interest there.
I think that ship has sailed, to be honest.
I'll say this: I think Cam Newton has more fantasy points at the end of the year than Jarrett Stidham.
I have no.
But are either of them relevant from a fantasy perspective?
I mean, if you told me Cam Newton's going to get the job, like, yeah, he'd be great. But I just, like, there was room. They were talking about like an opening week platoon, and I was just like, oh my god, like that's the worst case scenario. That's what I just got. That's when I saw that. I was just like, they really have no confidence. It's Cam. That was the part of the report that scared the shit out of me the most. It was like they just don't have any confidence he's going to learn the playbook in time. What does that tell the team too when they have 2 different guys in the huddle? I think they're basically saying that like it's Jarrett Stidham's job, and then Jarrett Stidham has been terrible. It's Jarrett Stidham's job, but he's not good enough. So we brought in Cam Newton, who's not smart enough. I just think they wanted to have real competition instead of this guy he beat last year. Like, he already beat Brian Hoyer out. He did that last year. So I think they were like, screw it. For a min-salary guy, like, we'll bring in someone who can actually compete. And realistically is a better natural fit to be the backup to Stidham anyways, because they kind of play the same type of offense. They play the same type of offense at Auburn. Like, so it's a much easier transition than saying going from Stidham to Hoyer. And then Stidham has just been terrible. like it's still like 3 days of practice. Like I don't want to like completely freak out, but it's been bad. And Cam Newton wasn't much better. Like Cam Newton hadn't been much. Like today he had a good practice, but until today, like he had been just as bad.
What are you doing with that situation in best ball? Are you
totally
touching it or just staying away?
Staying far, far, far away.
So I've taken a different approach. I'm grabbing some Cam Newton, which may sound like it's a bad idea.
There's no discount on Cam. Like you're paying like the full 14 game. You're paying him starts every week price now, but he's like a 10th round pick. Like, no chance.
A little early there, especially with what's around him. One player,
Jared Goff is cheaper. Like, give me Jared Goff 100 times out of 100 over Cam Newton.
Even if Cam starts,
like now, if it's 7 days before opening day and Cam Newton's named the starter, you know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go draft 40 Cam Newton teams and pay the inflated price.
So that was my question.
Exposure to him at that point, but
do you not? So I mean, you're especially someone like you and some of our listeners who are going to do 20 best balls. How many shares of Cam Newton should you have today? 1? I mean, obviously it depends on where he's going, but let's say, because like you're saying, if he is named the starter, you're overpaying for him at that point.
I mean, I'm not going to, he's not going to go into like the 5th round. Like he's going to go into round 8. Is there really a big difference between round 8 and round 10? Not really. It's the same type of player. Now, if you told me like he's going to start going the 5th round if he's named the starter, then like I'd consider it, but he's not going to go ahead of like Dak or Russell Wilson or Kyler. So like he's never going to really get any higher than in the 8th round. So at this point, like, why am I going to pay a 10th round price now when I don't know, as opposed to an 8th round price when I know?
Dak's a player,
it's not a big enough difference for me to just rework everything.
Yeah. Dak's a player I don't really love, but I'm kind of high on this year.
Oh, I love Dak.
Do you? Why do you love Dak?
Because that offense is going to be so good.
That's what I'm thinking too, right?
You play action, they're going to throw all the time.
Be wide open. What are we doing with Gronkowski? I think he's undervalued.
I don't mind him as like here. The problem with Gronk is I'm just not going to take him on teams where I'm taking 2 tight ends because the durability questions are just so massive, and I'm just not drafting a ton of 3 tight end teams. Because if I'm taking Kelsey early, like definitely not taking 3 tight ends there. So just for me, it's probably just gonna be a tough fit. Like if there's a team, sure, where like things fall out and I'm gonna take 3 tight ends, then sure. Like it's probably more of a DraftKings best ball play where you have 20-man rosters, and I'm more willing to draft 3 tight ends in that kind of format. It's like, okay, then Gronk, you could be tight end 3, and if you suck, then whatever, and if you're good, then great. I don't want to have to count on him for anything. That's kind of my issue.
Yeah, it's kind of a bonus, right?
Yeah, but the problem is like he's not going late enough yet where I can draft. Like there's certain team constructions where it would work. It's just not an active priority.
Well, look, we're going to do a hell of a lot more of this coming up. Obviously, if you guys have questions, hit us up over on Twitter at Seige Mentality, and of course Seige over at the Seige DFS, SEIGE, and I am at Duke DFS. What else you got for NFL? Anything before we head out of here, Seige?
No, I think we'll save it for next week.
Yeah, let's do that. As you said, probably the last week where we're going a ton of whip around. A lot to get to, obviously, today. Moving forward, pretty heavy on the NFL. Looking forward to that. Fun, quick 45 minutes here, buddy. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, rate, review. Adios.